we are back. Note that we have our notepad, and we have our scripts folder. And now we will poke around to gain some vocabulary in R, and then we'll look at how to get data into R. We'll look at some packages in our next video. First, we'll look at what are objects and relations. So let's start a new script. Objects are what we are creating, and functions are what we use to create them. And we put objects on the left and functions on the right. You could actually do it the other way if you want, but nobody does. So here we go. So let's make an object. Let's make a concatenation. I used to think the C stood for column. Apparently it stands for concatenation. Let's make a concatenation of numbers. Count by twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I am creating something called X. X is the object I'm creating, and to the right of X, on the other side of the arrow here, this is the function that I am using to create X. I am concatenating, I am putting together 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, and that being put together is going to create the object X. So I will tell it to do that, and then I will tell it to print it. And how do I tell it to print it? I just say X, enter. Okay, so what I could do is highlight and right click and then run liner section. Boom. So what I do? Well, I told R that X consists of these 5 numbers, and then I told it to show me what X is, and it did. It says X is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Very good. So I created an object using a function. I could create another object using another function. I could say, okay, well, I may need to use the mean of X in future things that I'm doing, so I will say I'm going to create an object called mean of X, so I don't have to recompute it every time, and in case I end up using this for a different data set, I will go like this. Create that, and then I'll have R show it to me. Okay, so highlight, right click, and run. Good. So I told R that mean X is the mean of X, and then I had R show me that it understood. I said, okay, mean X, enter. Yes, 6. 6 is the mean. Very good. And then what we can do once we have objects, because right now we created 2 objects. We created X and we created mean X, and we proved to ourselves by hitting X, enter, and having it show us, we proved to ourselves that R understands what these things are. So now we can use them if we want. We can combine them. Let's create a new object called X2, and it's going to be a concatenation of the 2 objects we've already created. So X and mean X. So that will be our line, and then we'll tell it to show us, highlight, run liner section, and there we go. So what did we do? Well, we concatenated X, which consists of these 5 numbers, and the mean of X, which consists of 1 number, 6. So now we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 6. There we go. So X2, we've created 3 objects now. We've created X, mean X, and X2. Each of them was created by a function, and of course the functions act on the object. So I created another object from 2 other objects that I had created. So the more we make, the more we have to work with. We can do a couple other examples here. Boys are comprised of snips, snails, and puppy dog tails. Alright, good. And girls are sugar, spice, and all things nice. Let's just truncate that to nice. Alright, so now we have boys and girls. Let's get that in. We'll run. Notice it doesn't show us anything unless we tell it to, so we ran that, but if we want it to actually show us, then we say, okay, boys, snip, snails, and puppy dog tails, good, and girls, sugar, spice, and all things nice. But note that if I capitalize something, it doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about, because I didn't capitalize it when I originally created it. So it is case sensitive. R is entirely case sensitive. And since we now have boys and girls, what we can do is we can create another object that contains both boys and girls. and then we can get it to show us the boys and girls. Kids. There we go. So kids are composed of snip, snails, puppy dog tails, sugar, spice, and all things nice. Why did I do that? Why did I create the kids object? Maybe I'll forget. So I could put in a note that says Sasha wanted boys and girls combined. So let's say someone named Sasha from the office wanted me to combine them. So now I have some commands, and I have something commented out. So I have a pound sign here, and what we're going to do is we're going to see what R does with a pound sign. Because for here, when we hit kids enter, it's going to show us the 6 things that kids are composed of. And down here, it's going to show us again. What'll it do with the commented thing in between? Nothing. It's going to ignore it. Boom. See? Nothing happens. It's like, okay, I acknowledge that you told me this, but there's nothing I'm going to do about it. That's commenting out. So we've covered objects, functions, comments, and the fact that R is case sensitive. One other trick we can do is if you're in the R console and maybe you're doing something on the fly, if you hit the up arrow key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the up arrow key, hit it once. Ooh, kids. Look at that, kids. See kids here? All right, what if I go up again? Oh, there's the comment that was commented out. What it's doing is it's going up the list. So kids, Sasha, I'll hit the up arrow again. And kids, oh, there it is. And then hit it again, kids, hit it again. And then there's the object created from these 2 other objects. And then, oh, that's when I typed girls, but I used a capital G, so it didn't know what I was talking about. And I hit the up arrow one more time, boom. And then I have girls with a small g. And R actually knows what that one is. And then I can also go back down. I'm hitting the down arrow now. That's so that if you are working in the console, you don't have to repeat commands that you've already made. So if I want to redefine X, but I don't want to re-type out everything, then let's say I'm only working in the console, then I could go way back up to the top here by hitting the up arrow enough times. Where's X? Where's X? There we go. Let's say I wanted to add a 12 to it. Boom. How do I bring data I already have into R to work on it? Well, let's look at what we have. In our scripts folder, I gave us a file called scrabbledata.txt. Here it is in Notepad. You have player 1 and player 2's scores. So how do I get that data into R? Let's open up R. Check that the file is R friendly. It appears to have no holes. This is a comma separated type of file. And it has header, which isn't important yet, but it'll be important later. So yes, it's an R friendly file. R will know how to read this, in other words. Good. Next thing we have to do is set our working directory. To do this, we're going to need to know what the location of the file that we want to use is. And we can see it right here. This is the location. And we could actually copy that. The command we're going to use is going to be set wd, so set working directory. And what we can do is we can paste in the location that we had, but we're going to have to change something. If we choose the copy and paste, we're going to have to change something because R already has a function for backslashes. So we're going to have to replace backslashes, which serve as escape characters, to forward slashes. The file is here, specifically in scripts. So this will be our working directory. This is where our file is. So it didn't give us an error message. That means that the working directory is set. Now we can say, "Dear R, please regard the contents of this particular file that is in the working directory as scores." Specifically, I am pointing you to a file I want you to read that contains data which is comma separated as opposed to tab separated. So the comma tells R where data begins and ends. And keeping in mind, we need case sensitive file names. We are telling R that the data found in the Scrabble data file in the working directory is going to be called scores. Enter, and we see whether it worked. Scores. Have you got anything for me? Yes, specifically I have all of these scores. We can go back and see whether this is reflective of the actual content in the Scrabble data file. It is. So we have communicated with R and told it where the files are that we want to use with setting the working directory, and we've told it which file we were referring to with the name scores. Specifically, we made an object out of our text file. Now there's more we need to do if we want to actually play with our data, but helping R to find it was the necessary first step, and that has been accomplished. So now that we know how to grab data and how to run scripts, we can make a script and apply it to multiple different data sets, and we can get a data set and apply multiple scripts to it. I could also have shown you how to set the working directory through the menu, but this menu is different for different versions, interfaces, or operating systems, so I just showed you how to do it from the command line, which is the same for all of them. We could have done this and set the working directory that way. So now we know how to tell R the folder we'll be working in and the file we'll be using. And we also learned that we have to change any backslashes to forward slashes in any file paths that we're using. Next, we'll look at how to grab and play with the data and how to use the third window in R, not the console, not the script window, but the graphics window. And to do that, we'll probably need a cool package or two. So next video will be installing packages, grabbing data, and starting to visualize it.